valley floor. During the season, it's not unusual to have 100 or more climbers on the mountain, testing, trying, and exploring a number of different routes.
Seneca is known as a traditional climbing area, which means the skills you need to climb here are the same skills you could use to climb Mount Everest, Mount McKinley, the Grand Teton, or climbing Yosemite. We're not really a sport climbing area. Sport climbing means there are bolts installed in the wall and they're permanent, whereas Seneca Rocks doesn't have very many bolts, basically. Rock climbing allows you to sort of push your boundaries in a risky situation, but have safeguards, so that you can kind of safely push your boundaries in an otherwise risky situation. Okay, as safe as possible. It's always going to be risky, but if you learn the right skills, you can minimize that risk.
What else? It keeps you outside. Rock climbing, you have to invest in some gear, and if you're smart, you'll invest in some lessons. But once you have those two things, some knowledge and some gear, you can go to Yosemite, you go to the Tetons, you go to the canyons of the Southwest, and no one charges you to go rock climbing. You just go explore places which are unbelievably beautiful, and it allows you to get up, into areas or on cliffs and spots where no one's ever been, practically. And that's, what we do often is go to areas and put up new climbs. And, we're all, we're loving it beyond belief, but it's like, it's like being a pioneer. How often do you get to go somewhere and literally you're climbing up a rock wall and you're touching things that you're sure no other human being has ever touched? And in a small way you're getting to discovery. That's kind of lost, right? We used to go across to California and do all this discovery, and nobody does it. We're not doing it as much anymore. So in a small way, I think that's what it is. That same kind of feeling. Spirit of discovery. In school, I studied TM, Transcendental Meditation, and what the object there is to calm your mind to the point where you get some sort of therapeutic effect, out of it. In rock climbing, I think it's the Western version. It's a gun to the head, because when you're climbing, especially in the beginning when you're fearful of it, you don't quite understand, you think you might die or get hurt, your body turns everything off, and you concentrate on nothing but the rock and the climb. And you see people afterward. I know it used to happen to me. I'd come home and my roommates would be like, man, you go climbing for a couple of days, you come back, you're just much happier. And I think that's really what's happening. I think for a lot of Western people, it's hard to achieve that state where you're not thinking about anything else in your life at all. And putting yourself on the side of a rock face takes you there. And all of a sudden you don't know it, but you feel better later. And I've seen it through our clients a lot. So I think there's kind of a comparison there. It's forced meditation. Works for me.
In addition to climbing, in the valley below Seneca Rocks, there's excellent fly fishing in the North Fork of the South Branch of the Potomac River. Just down the road a few miles, Nelson Rocks Preserve.
A via ferrata means the iron way. Basically, via ferratas were created during, I think it was World War II, and they were put in the Alps to allow military troops to get over mountains. Okay? They've consequently become recreational. People use them all the time throughout the Alps to just go, it's kind of extreme hiking. Okay, where they have metal rungs embedded in the stone, and then a stainless steel cable which is bolted into the rock maybe every 6 to 8 feet, and you use these nylon leashes, clip over the cable, and you always have 2 leashes, so when you get to an anchor point you can pass that anchor point with one of them and still stay safe, as safe as you can be on a via ferrata. The coolest thing about the via ferrata is that it's kind of an in-between. It's for, if you enjoy hiking and you thought you might enjoy climbing, but it scared you, or you just weren't sure, it's kind of a great way to try it out, because you get to, if you can climb a ladder, you can climb the via ferrata. but you are in exposed situations. You're on the side of a rock face. I mean, it has most of what rock climbing offers without so much commitment. You know, just like Seneca Rocks, you get a very traditional experience of getting to the summit of something. A lot of rock climbing in the world is just a cliff band, you know, along the wall, and that's fun. But for a lot of people who are trying out climbing, especially the first time, they want to get to the top of something, you know? And that's kind of neat.
Wild and wonderful is without question what West Virginia is all about. Thanks for watching Discoveries America.
Presents the following National Geographic program as we continue to explore the world around us.
I had no idea that something so gorgeous could be causing such harm on our native reef ecosystems. Flying fish are what is known as an invasive species. They can produce 2 million eggs over the course of 1 year and are voracious predators. They're essentially like the Hoover vacuums of the sea. When I was 17, I was diving off the coast of South Florida and I saw the most beautiful fish I had ever seen. It had these bold stripes and these big dramatic spines, and I had no idea what it was. So I went to the dive master and he told me I had just seen a lionfish, and I was hooked. I started reading everything I could about this strange and beautiful fish, and what I found completely astounded me. I had no idea that something so gorgeous could be causing such harm on our native reef ecosystems. Lionfish are what is known as an invasive species, and that's defined as a species that is non-native to its area and that is causing harm or is likely to cause harm. Now, lionfish are originally from the Indo-Pacific region, and they were introduced off the coast of South Florida in the mid-1980s. And most likely it was through an aquarium release, so someone who had some pet lionfish didn't want to take care of them anymore and then just dumped them into the local waterways. So this is problematic for a couple reasons. First, lionfish are prolific breeders. They can produce 2 million eggs over the course of 1 year, and one lionfish and all of her offspring can produce 8.1 quintillion eggs in just 3 months. And the other thing is they are voracious predators. They're essentially like the Hoover vacuums of the sea. They can eat anything up to half their size, and unfortunately that includes a lot of the really cool, interesting reef fish that we like to see on the reef as divers. To top it all off, they have a series of venomous spines lining their back. This produces a very nasty neurotoxin that causes pain and swelling if you're stung. One of my interviewees told me that it won't kill you, but it'll make you wish you were dead. So this is definitely not a fish that we want